Let's go to work, 'cause I'm tripping. Gotta work on myself, 'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above the dome. Need all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all. I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. Yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again. So sweet again. Above it all, beat all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all. I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Oh, this is your Capitano speaking. We were flying at, what are we flying? 55 feet? Hey, we'll take it. We have 55 witnesses on the plane. 62 witnesses on the plane. Look at that. We're gonna need someone pass out some drinks, get some nuts going. Everybody likes nuts. Why are nuts on a plane? Let's not go there. I'm going to be talking a lot about nuts today. I don't know why I started off with nuts on a plane. There's a lot of genital mythology that's about to come your way. And what are you going to do, you know? It's the weather of consciousness. It's going to be raining a lot of genitals, 4,000 ancient Roman dildos. Cannot be wrong. Some of you don't know this story. Nate's in the house. Good to see everybody. Actually, everyone's in the house. Jason's in the house. Joshua's in the house. Ben's in the house. Wow, I haven't seen you in a while, Ben, unless you've been here. Sorry. Michael's in the house. There's certain lights in the house. Joshua's already given me a super chat. Best intro. It is the best intro. That is such a good intro. Seriously. A lot of good people gave you some video to do that. Stretch above and beyond. Linda B, Michael Smiths, I guess you're liking me today. I'll take it, man. Even if you hate me, I'll take it. Man, it's how you express yourself. Michael is Orca fucking love. That's what that is. Ginger, good to see you. Suzette Ann, there we go. Linda B, Amanda, Zoogie. I haven't seen you in a while. Porter Finder. Okay, I'll stop. Teresa, well, I didn't stop, did I? There's more. Kristen just came in. Kristen, hope you're doing well. He was already here. He was like, dude, I was just putting my bag up. 4,000. Yeah, do you remember that, Alicia? 4,000. It's not even a joke. I mean, it's a joke. James Ballantyne Hane. One of you can put that in the chat if you want. James Ballantyne Hane, how to spell that. That dude wrote a book called The Rise and Fall of Rome. The Rise and Fall of religion of Rome. And anyway, in that book, there's an archaeological site. It's actually a Roman urinal, believe it or not. But before or during, they're not quite sure when. First of all, I'll just get on to it. They found 4,000 dildos in that urinal. Underneath that urinal in the ground. 4,000 Roman dildos. Back in Roman times, they didn't have batteries. I know a lot of you have argued. I've seen some of you posted pictures of the Baghdad dildo battery. That's the Baghdad thing, and it's attached. It tunes out. Those are different. One's AC, one's DC. That didn't work. These were manual phalanges. And I've told you before that Pharaoh, if you think about the reason why all of you misspell Pharaoh, except for one of you that's like, I never do that. But the reason why you misspell Pharaoh is because it's actually Falaho. And if you remember that it's Falaho and then you change the L to an R, you just figured out a fucking secret. You just figured out a secret. I told you before that the resolution of consciousness grows through time, just as your universe grows. And so, just as, we changed the standard tuning of what music is, for example, from 432 to 440. Many of you think that's because there's an evil Nazi nipple clamp guy that's out to get you. But actually, if you go back to Haydn, it was 416. So you're like, oh, well, I didn't look at that, James. I stopped when I found out I could have nipple clamps on me from the Nazis. The Nazi nipple clamp stopped me from using my orchid consciousness to go, wait a minute, what if it's not evil? What if everything's not broken? What if the Nazis weren't tinkering with your music? Maybe the music you listen to is fucking great. Oh my God, there's a thought. Hey, look at that. We just solved like a shitload of problems right there. And you know that because if you go back before 432, you start to slip and more orchestras as you go back into time were actually having a different tone because the ripple is spreading. And as your ripple of consciousness, as mankind's ripple of consciousness grows, so too would be what we perceive middle A to be. Middle A just being the megahertz of the note A above middle C. Could be below. If it's below, then it's 220 versus 440. If it's above, it's 880. If you don't know this, every octave on a musical scale doubles. And this really starts to show you why gamma rays melt your face off, because you're basically just doubling that each time. That's why decibels are, when you're looking at a decibel scale, a lot of people don't understand the difference between 8.2 and 8.6 is like a lot. It's like a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So we have a lot to cover. I'm assuming audio's good. Everything. I don't see anyone saying, hey, you're muted. So that's always good. A long time ago, I think people would not tell me I was muted because they're like, this is better. This is better. We can put words in his mouth. But now I've learned to talk about dildos, and you're like, we'll see where it's going with this. Where are you going with this, James? Where are you going? And here's where I'm going with it. The shaming of history is real. It is real. It is so real that we're missing history every day. And so as time goes forward, history corrects itself, meaning that the fashion of the modern thinker changes history so they can just feel like, oh, look, I learned something. Right now, there is a giant faction of feminist scholars that are saying women were blacksmiths in the olden days, and that they were hammering their horseshoes with the best of men. And they were also oppressed. They had no shoes Everyone treated them horribly, and they held the most prestigious job in the village at the same time. It's complicated, James. And I'm like, so how does this work? It's like, as she is banging the metal sword, the guy is whistling at her, saying, hey, baby, hey, where'd you get that striking hot poker? Oh, hey, or hey, is the scabbard in your legs, or are you just happy to see me? And so you end up with a history that has what culture wants. I'm okay with this. I actually think we can unwind culture and figure that out. Thank you, Nate. That really always helps. Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, it always helps to hear that. Oh my God, orca, straw. Holy, did you guys see what Michael did? I have not caught that. Renee, did you see this? Renee's just like, yeah, no big deal. I'm not going to type about that. That's, someone get this man a fish. Seriously. That, I hope you don't feel like I'm over pushing that, Michael. I don't know why I never saw that. I'm sort of like, man, this is a new sun. The new sun is showing you things that have been in front of your face the whole time. 4,000 dildos cannot be wrong. So what happened? Try and Wikipedia. See, I'm glad Renee gets season 2. If you guys are wondering, I should say Stretch. Stretch season 2. Thank you. That's really freaking, man, that's a good one. 4,000 dildos. You could not find that story on Wikipedia. You are not going to find anything about that. And the reason why you're not going to find anything about that is because there's a phenomenon called the shaming of Priapus. There is a figure, figure. There's a member, let's call it that. There's a member throughout history that our earliest religion came from the land of Muladhara. The land of Muladhara. Some of you may not realize that was a land. The place downstairs where your coccyx is, where your bone throne, right? You're sitting in the bone throne down there, sitting on your mercy seat, sitting in your hips, going, I command the entire world because you're a living God. You are. Oh my God, James, you're Luciferian. It's like, no, your body's a living God. You can haunt it. You can psyop it. You can make it drunk. You can insert Bacchus rituals every month, right? Where you just frickin' get it hammered all the time. And all its people are like, all these things. And that propaganda is how you propagate vibration or medicine. So if you want to inform yourself, it turns out your brain kind of runs like a casino. I'm not into that. You should check out my series, Talking to Reptiles. We have a lot to do. The point is that this that story has been shamed because the entire religion of Priapus is too embarrassing to talk about. This is really one of the major fetishes of Rome. There's also a lot of hermaphroditica inside of Rome. I just made up that word. A lot of it. I don't mind, a lot of you guys are carving out a living, honestly. Tossing the dead body of a trans person back and forth between the left side and the right side of the politics, and you're like, if we can get the trans person to cut off their dick, we'll win. And then the other guys are like, if we can get him to, we want him to cut off his dick, but then we want him to regret it, then we'll win. And that's just the left and the right. And meanwhile, the trans person's in between going, I feel seen. And we can't imagine a world where we would come to be persecuted. We can't, which is why it works, honestly. If we understood what we were doing, that shit wouldn't work. This is why you melted off that gland in the top of your mouth, your olfactory gland. That's why you did it. You did that so we could lie to each other. It's great. Do not tell Jason Brashears that he might be stretching. Do not do that. Do not do that. That guy has posted 5 times to 100,000 people that I am irrelevant. And quite frankly, I've never gotten a post to get 500,000 people's eyes. And the fact that the post that reaches 500,000 people's eyes is a post explaining how crucially important it is that everyone who listens to him knows that I am irrelevant. I think I'm pretty fucking relevant. I do. I think I'm relevant. I'm like Rev Lonavant. It's Choctaw. You guys were like, what did you just say? It's Choctaw Revelonicant. The early Avon lady was a Choctaw Indian. We'll get into that later. When he was like, wait a minute. Did he say 4,000 dildos? Yes, I did. They were just stone images of the Priapus. And first of all, don't get me wrong. The ladies were definitely like worshiping the Priapus, right? And a lot of times I would imagine you come home, you guys, your patriarchs, fellow patriarchs, we come home. We'd be like, honey, I'm home. And there'd be this big shuffling, big shuffling. Be like, what you doing there, honey? She's like, I'm worshiping. Please wait. I am saying my prayers. Oh. By the way, we'll get this out of the way. No, we'll wait for it later. I hope I can remember to get you to the Jewish part. James, don't forget the Jewish joke. Don't forget the Jewish baseball joke. Don't forget the Jewish baseball joke. Okay, now I'll put a space in between. So you will not remember. So, you can't find references to that because the scholarly history of Rome has been sanitized. It's been sanitized in a really, really big way. And I wrote in my book, Ark of Baphomet, about the 4,000 phalluses because I thought that was like the largest single example that I could go, guys, why are you doing this? Now, I'd like us to take a moment and picture that somewhere in Rome, a woman, wonderful lady, her name's Altheophis, right? This is Rome. Her name's Altheophis. No, wait. This is modern. This is like 1970. Okay? No, 1990. 2000. Scratch all that. I'm starting the story over. So the year 2000, a woman working on her master's from the University of Chicago travels to Rome to work with another lady at the University of Germany. I'm making these universities up. And that they start a dig in the urinals of Rome, and they're looking for something else. They're looking for early signs of plumbing, and this is part of their thing. And they're there like Indiana Jones, ka-ching, ka-ching, and all of a sudden, ka-ching! And they look at each other, and they've struck something. And they look down, and... But first of all, these are lesbians. That's really important to this joke, okay? These two, they fall in love. Nothing wrong with lesbians. It's just important to the joke, that's all. Look, it's crucial, you'll see. So two lesbians walk into a Roman urinal and they start to dig up the history, right? And this is all true, by the way, except for the lesbian part and everything else I said, which is not true. It's allegorical history. There you go. So they're digging it up and they hit a chunk, and the one lesbian from the University of Chicago pulls up the phallus. And she looks at it. It's probably like this big, honestly. And she's kind of looking at it. And the other lady looks over and they look at each other. And one of them finally has to admit it. It's a phallus. And I'm like, okay, well, we love our job. Even though we're lesbians, we love our job. So we're just going to put it in the bag. And, we can do this. We can do this, Karen. We can do this. I'm going to stop making fun of Karen. I forget her name. So we're going to put it over here. We're going to bag it and tag it just like any archaeologist would. And they do. And then they're like, well, maybe there's something else in there. And they go down there like, oh God, it's another one. It's another one. This is not why I came here. And they're like, just put it in the bag. Just put it in the bag, Dolores. Let's call her Dolores. Okay. So she puts it in the bag. And then they're like, well, surely the dildos are gone, and we're going to get to the sacred vulva casserole dish, right? That's why they were there. They were there looking for the sacred vulva casserole dish. And they go, is this already too, is this too much? You're just like, this isn't what I want. Do you want something more academic from me? But you let me know in the comments. But the third one, this is actually academic. This is what's so weird about it. The third, they go down, it's like, oh, it's another one. And they get to like 7. And they're like, I'm quitting for the day. This is disgusting. It's disgusting. And even though they found 7, the 6 are bagged. One's kind of missing, not really sure why. And they go back to their room and they're just like, this is horrible. I cannot believe that us lesbians are having to dig up 6 phalluses. And I'm sure that when we come back tomorrow, we're going to just, we'll start to get to the sacred casserole dishes. And like 8 months later, they're like on dildo 3,998 dildos on the wall, like 3,998 dildos. And they're like, they have to bag each one. These are lesbians. They're really upset. This is not what they signed up for. All right? Come on. This is completely not what we wanted to do here, right? And I think this is how Priapus gets shamed. I think this is how it happens. Is that just culture through time no one wants to be immortalized as, yeah, I'm Professor so-and-so. I'm kind of famous for uncovering 4,000 dildos in a Roman urinal. And it's like, that's going to haunt her. If she's a lesbian, that's going to haunt her whole life. There's actually 3,999. One is still missing. We don't know why. We don't know why. There's speculations are out the yin-yang. But she's a lesbian. You're not going to get her there. Guys, if anyone's a lesbian here, I fucking love you. I've actually thought that if I was anything, I was probably like a lesbian in a man's body. And then I would tell women that, thinking they would understand, and they'd be like, you're just trying to get my pants. And I was just like, all right, well, A, that's true. I mean, fuck, I'm 17. But B, I kind of thought that maybe you'd understand. I'm just a little bit more empathic. That's all. I'm not saying I get it all. I mean, I'm going to, if I found 4,000, dildos, I'm probably going to be like, I don't want to fucking talk about this. I don't want to be known for this. So, yeah. You guys are like, I thought you had a show. Didn't you? Thou is what she hath saideth. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Appreciate you guys being here. Sadie Fair's in the house. Good to see you too. Adrian, hit that thumbs up, people. Hit that thumbs up. Or don't. I'm irrelevant anyway. 500,000 people right now are going, man, I didn't know James True was irrelevant. Who's James True? I don't know. All right, so to get started, I need you to look at this spectrum. This is a spectrum from mythology all the way to reality, okay? And so on the left is mythology, on the right's reality. Those of you listening in the podcast, hello. Hello there. Everyone listening in the podcast, hello there. The watcher, if you're out there, hope you're doing well. Mythology to reality, right? Mythology's on the left, reality's on the right. And that what you see in the world is a hypothetical construct between these two things. Somewhere, when I say hypothetical, what I really mean is rendered. But I just want you to hear the word hypothetical because some of you guys are new. So you are creating a construct of every single thing that you see is somewhere between this spectrum. Please ignore the numbers at the bottom. That's just because I didn't have time to remove the numbers. So mythology on the left, reality on the right. What does that mean? It looks like this. On the left, the mythology is the ark. And on the right is the reality of the human body. And in between mythology and reality is the Ark of the Covenant. It's going to take a little bit to get what I mean by this, but just kind of stay with me if you don't mind. And that when we are talking about things such as mythology, such as the Ark of the Covenant, such as Noah's Ark, such as all the other things, we don't know this yet, but we actually are moving our needle between mythology and reality. Mythology and reality. And that our ability to see something in mythos is our ability to look through the needle of time. You heard me. And that the needle of time is actually going to have a high degree of accuracy. I would argue more accurate than the present, and I'll tell you why, because the present is full of noise. Hallucinogenic noise just to give texture, to put more limbic oomph into it. You have a lot of noise. But when you can reduce something into its mythology, you start to simplify it. Some of you are already familiar with this term. I call this the oracle of mythology. And what's happening is that the reality itself is informing you through the archetypes of mythology, right? Through the archetypes of mythology. And so Really hurts me to hear that, Watcher. Oh, that hurts. Oh, I won't say it, but God, it just fucking cuts me to the bone. It just cuts me. Oh. Why are we even here? Or let me say it again. Why are we even here? I don't know. I wonder if you're here. I don't know. But I think, like that's, oh God, I can't believe someone's listening to me at 1.5 speed. And I called him out. I like celebrating him. And I still like him. That's why this is so painful. I actually like the guy. It's just, God, this is tough. This is tough. All right. So there you go, Linda. Look at Linda coming in going, James, put the dildo down. He's just catching up. Just let him catch up. See, all of us know the Watcher doesn't even know what I've said yet. Right now, the Watcher is just like minding his own business, thinking that, the quick shout outs, all I said. He's going to hit this. And he's going to be like, what is this? What the hell have I just entered into? Why are they talking about me? And everyone else is already in the chat. You guys are in the future looking at the Watcher, waiting for him to catch up, going, wow, this is going to be good. Am I ever going to get this show on? Probably not. Probably not. All right, so I want to get started with some flood stuff. And so you've got this idea of the mythology into reality down. If this is confusing, I will go back. I don't know how fast, it's already 5:30. I know a lot of you complain because I take too long. And so I've cut like 28 slides out of this presentation because I don't want to overfeed you, which is killing me, by the way. I wish we had a longer appetite here. I would give you a longer appetite if I look at that, look at the Watcher. Look, I don't even know if he is caught up to this is great. Look at that. Now he's laughing. Good to see you, buddy. This is great. Isn't time travel wonderful? Isn't time travel wonderful? See, now he's saying this is great. So, and thank you for the super chat, by the way. Where was I going? Okay. We're going to talk about, floods, and I need you to know that the oldest flood story came from China. It's A-Zie and his sister. And these are twins. And these twins are just everywhere. And I want to read you one of the oldest creation stories we've ever known. Many of us think the Utnapishtim, right? You guys know that guy? Gilgamesh, some of you will say Utnapishtim. I'm pretty sure I'm getting that right. But even older than that. Did you hear that? Even older than that is this. Who came to the bad disposition to send fire and burn the hill? Who came to the bad disposition to send water and destroy the earth? I who sing do not know. Z did. Z was of bad disposition. Z sent fire and burned the hill. Thunder did. Thunder was of bad disposition. Thunder sent water and destroyed the earth. Why don't you know? This is fucking deep. I really mean that. Especially ending it with, why don't you know? It's, we'll get there, I hope. Notice the Abraxas. Or if you're new to me, notice the Capricorn on the right, that these, not only are they twins, first of all, they're twins. Second of all, they're male and female. Third of all, it's a Capricorn. However, I think it's more accurate if you can call that Abraxas. I'm not going to hold you to it. But there's nothing wrong with Capricorn. Some of you Capricorns were like, well, what the fuck? No, you got your light coming, trust me. But this is actually before Capricorn. You actually were one of the first to come out of the water and give us what we have now. But before you was the Abraxas. And the Abraxas became the Aegeopan. The Aegeopan became Pan. Pan became Capricorn. Capricorn became... better not say that word. Capricorn became something else, which we're not talking about right now, because a lot of you were like, don't say that word. If you say that word, I'm going to unsubscribe from you, James True. Don't you dare fucking say Baphomet. Oh, fuck, I just said Baphomet. Showermet. That's what I've been calling it, Showermet. And that Capricorn turns into Showermet. But the key is I want you to really, really hear this, that the A-Zie and his sister is the divine twin, the male and the female. And that this divine twin is everywhere. I mean, like everywhere. I think there's at least 30 Native American pristine tribes that haven't actually talked to each other that have this kind of figure in there, this divine twin. Of course, the Popol Vuh are the twins, the Mayan creation twins. You've heard about them. Romulus and Remus of Rome, those are the twins. There's really too many. I'm not going to be able to get them all through. If you want to read Ark of Baphomet, they were all listed in there. But there's a lot, like over 30. And each of these different cultures have this idea of twins surviving. I'm going to say flood, but it's not really flood. It's just flood is the archetype of washing away a baptism. And this is, I think, the biggest clue is why don't you know the last sentence of the oldest poem that's ever been written? It says, why don't you know? And that truly is the key, because to have a flood is to forget. And why? I told you this, you are, all your cells are hydrophobic. They're like afraid of water. And the reason why they're afraid of water is because the moment water washes through and breaks into them, they lose all their memories, because their memories are now on a larger network. And that larger network is full of every memory that it's ever had. And so those memories end up losing a lot of resolution, because now they're having to compete with all these other memories, and it basically just comes out as noise. And so every flood is the removal of your ability to preserve. And so the removal of your ability to preserve needs to be fixed. And in order for it to be fixed, we have to develop a Tower of Babel, a Noah's Ark, and what's the name of the show? The Migdal. We'll get to it. So you've got these twins, and then you've got these resets. Randall Carlson, personal friend of mine. I'm just kidding. Randall doesn't know me. He's liked a few of my tweets. I'm not gonna lie. He's liked a few of my tweets. I don't think he knows me though. If anyone knows Randall. Anyway, Randall has this. He's discussed the cataclysmic data that's been stored, and he created this chart. I added the elements because I'll get to that in a second, but he has shown you that almost every reset, almost every flood, keep in mind when I say flood, I'm talking about to forget, okay? To forget, but I'm going to use flood because that's all you hear history say, because of the archetype of what it is. So if you look up top here, I think you can see my mouse. Let me know if you guys can see my mouse. It'll just be good to know. But up top here, you'll see 5 green dots right next to Leo. And that these are cataclysmic events. You've got the terminal substage 5e climate shift in 117,000 BP. That's before present. You've got the Heinrich event, 65,000 years before present. And you've got a Heinrich event 4. That the first one was Heinrich event 6. Heinrich event 4 was 39,000 years before present. And then you've got this onset of Younger Dryas, probably the most famous that we know of, because it's the most recent. And that was 12,900 years ago. We have proof of that. Please don't make the mistake of other researchers and think that the flood is in 1 year. Randall's telling you that, look, this is like a 100-year thing. And the reason why those are zeros at the end is because, look, this is really, really rough math. And this takes a long time. This takes a long, long time. Thanks, Nate. And in order for that that's kind of, Sean, it could be that the entire flood took 138 years. Yeah, like seriously, like one flood easily could have taken over 138 years. Not to mention, we don't always know what the years are before AD. It's really tough to get that. However, to get back to what we're talking about, do you notice a pattern? There's a lot of fire, destruction, and there's a lot of air destruction down in Aquarius. In the south, you've got Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign, which I know that seems odd. Why is an air sign bearing water? And there's a lot to that, but if you think about what the internet is you were seeing the flow of information that was not there before. And as Olga, is that her name? Really pointed out, I hadn't even caught, It's interesting that Aquarius is a male. The male is pouring the water. The male is showing you the energy that was unseen. And I think that we could look at this as 5G, as EMF, all of the informational radio waves, all of those are us mastering, or trying to master, I should say, how to survive inside these signals. And the more practice we have with these signals, maybe, I have to be careful here because I'm just telling you enough to get the data out. I'm not saying this stuff's right or that we should do this, but that by practicing inside the dojo of that frequency, we are stretching our drum of God and we're able to perceive more consciousness. One of the most brilliant ways of getting you to perceive more consciousness is having a reset. When you have a reset, everyone who values what they have is going to bury it in a place for safekeeping. They're going to bury it there. And Randall's giving you proof that there's something going on here. Not only are we seeing these cataclysmic events that seem to align along the zodiac. So keep in mind, one of those 12,000 years, down here in Aquarius, you've got 26,000 years, you've got 52,000 years. These are the Heinrich event, the Wisconsin Ice Age sheet. You've got all these situations, Greenland Blitz. By the way, there's certainly instant cataclysm for sure, like a giant shelf will fall, right? But you're looking at 100 years of just fucking mud flood. And the White House is not going to survive that. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not. Anyway, these events are showing you that there's a reset that happens in two different ways. One is fire, one is air, but that air brings water. And so we call them a flood because, quite frankly, that's about as close as we could picture the resolution of in the past of looking at these resets. The flood is about the closest thing that they could come up with to mythologize, to archetypally precisely come up a word that fits that. I hope that makes sense. On the right is a fresh out of the oven, a piece of silicon. Computer chip. The wafers are laid out in an array, and those arrays, this is all right out of the earth. I know a lot of us think that there is nothing natural about computers, but it's actually the opposite. Like pretty much every piece of a computer is, the heart of what it does is a natural element. That we are smearing ourselves, I like to say this or not, we're smearing ourselves with the lotion of silicone a lot, and that's our technology. Most of your clothing that you have, believe it or not, requires silicone to be flexible. The plastic that you have needs metal inside it to give it the ability to become pliable. So silicone is not just in your computers. You've been wearing the technology of silicone since you began to put on togas. That the moment you started to put cloth on, that cloth itself was your very first nibble onto this metallic medicine. That Gaia is having you eat this silicone and that you gain the network of her. The more you smear this on your person, the more you are networked into the soil. I know it's very hard for us to imagine that the internet is the soil, but I want you to picture that just like underneath the surface you have a mycelium internet, so too above the surface do you have a mycelium internet. All the wires that you see running down your street that you call ugly are actually pretty organic. It's the magic of rubber tree, the insulation, wrapped around the magic of ore pulled out of the earth. And that on either end of that, there is a silicon drum, a receiver, like if you opened up those old phones and you looked at the two diaphragms, that the diaphragm of silicone is on the other end, and we're transmuting those electrical pulses into information. And that's a mycelium network, and it's all organic. Some of you are clinging to the fact, yeah, but man's not organic. And I'm just like, I don't know how you got there. It's amazing that you're like, yeah, God is, He's stupid. He has trust issues. He made the world evil because he doesn't know how to build things. And all of his creation is somehow not made by him. Like that's how fucked up we are. That's how it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Point is this. An EM event, an electromagnetic pulse, a solar discharge of immense proportion would do something really special to the world. Many of you might think, oh, it'll melt our faces off and we'll die. No, it's actually a little bit more precise than that. Because what would happen is that all the silicon is basically light. Basically, you're just storing it with light. And so when you pull up something in your phone, a piece of light is shining on this disk that I'm showing you, and that disk has stored into it a pattern, a black and white pattern. And that black and white pattern is Babel, the language of Babel. The Tower of Babel has a universal language that everybody spoke. And that universal language is given to you by the digitization of all binary code, all assembly language, all HTML, all C++, all C#. Every single programming language that's ever been built is built on a 0 and 1 framework stored into silicon with the power of light. And when you reference something, you're shining a light on it, and that light is able to burn the silicon. And what makes silicon so powerful is it has the ability to remember. This is why we use it in clothing. It has the ability to remember. And so it's able to bend because it has an origin. It knows who it used to be. And this changes the entire fabric, there's a pun, changes the entire fabric of our society, because by imbuing metal that knew its shape before, we've invented drape, we've invented fashion, we've invented shoes, we've invented rubber tires, we've invented literally every kind of pharmacological medicine that Rockefeller crammed down your throat is all made from this power of silicon. You've been eating silicon the whole time. Now, during this EMP, the flash clears every 0 and 1 that's been burned, because the flash, the EMF, is light. The light is so powerful it's able to penetrate, it squiggles its way around all the atoms in the atmosphere, just the same way it wiggles around all the atoms in your phone. And it finds your SSD card that's inside your phone, and it burns it. It turns the lights on. And if you can picture, okay, that's the primary mode of storage we have right now. Some of you might go, well, what about hard drives, James? Yeah. If you're as old as I am, you remember hard drives, and you're like, well, hey, we still got hard drives. And you don't, because that's magnetic. So all light storage, all magnetic storage is gone. It's gone inside an EMF. It is not a coincidence that we have developed light storing data. Some of you might be familiar with what's called Moore's Law. Moore's Law is the idea that technology gets better and better and faster, and storage gets better, and all these things are so amazingly moving at light speed that I want you to know something. There is not another element, another ability to store data faster than the speed of light. And that some of the fastest hard drives that were ever made by Western Digital, some of the most brilliant technology that went into that, was not cutting it until we switched to light. And we have light computers now. They're made out of light. And you and I'm going to tell you something. I would be willing to bet you, and since currency is probably not going to last 26,000 years, this is kind of a false bet. I will bet you 4,000 dildos. If I come back as a lesbian and you come back as a lesbian, and we are excavating the next resets culture, I will bag and tag every dildo if this is wrong. But I'm here to tell you this. It would be impossible to reset and build another civilization and not utilize the storage of light. There's no efficient way to do it. Notice I did not say it had to be silicone. It probably would be, but it would not have to be silicone. At the base root of this technology, silicone is listening to light and forgetting light, listening to light and forgetting light, listening to light and forgetting to light. And that this is the only choice you have to give us the speeds that we have now. It's the only choice. It's the only way. Copper is not fast enough, believe it or not. It's not fast enough. In fact, if you're a musician like me, you know that I cannot play with someone in real time because of copper. It's copper's fault. El Dios de Cobra, the copper god. I love you, copper god. I love you. This guy's a copper god right there. I love you. But it's not fast enough to do what we want to do. It's just not. So, you and I know how to reset the next civilization. We just need to put out an EMP. Just like in, you know what I mean? Will Smith in that movie, right? Look in the eye, look in the eyes, and it, boom, it's gone. So, if you were the farmer of this world, you now know how to reset it. You could make everyone forget. Remember the poem? Thunder did. Thunder was of bad disposition. Thunder sent water and destroyed the earth. Why don't you know? Why don't you know? The story of Apollo, the mythology of Apollo, has this concept, sometimes we'll call this Artemis, but this idea of Apollo destroying a snake. It's the Pythos, by the way, the snake, or Python, but technically it's Pythos. I don't mind you calling it Python. Apollo, Pythos. Apollo destroys the snake. This is a very old mythology. Remember, I told you about the oracle mythology, that we are able to go back into present and look at our mythology and see actually what happened. All we have to do is convert our technology, our language into that time, and the mythology will still hold true. And so we have an ancient idea about Apollo slaughtering a snake. The snake is called Pythos. The dead guts of that snake are found in the caverns underneath Delphi, aren't they? That we take virgins, we put them on tripods, we allow them to maybe get a little bit high on some ether maybe, and that they sit on top of the tripod going, I see. I think you're a Capricorn, Alexander the Great, and I think this, and I think that, and that you developed an oracle that was based on a very elusive relationship between a tripod virgin, high as a kite on absinthe, absinthe juice or vapor, and all these kings that were coming to ask the oracle what to do. This technology, not only did it work from an intuitive sense, the augury sense, right? The ability to predict things by watching the birds, right? Was called augury. Most of our tarot readings was just, this is logic. This is how we solve things. I think people back then were wise. They weren't like, oh, if you tell me to do that, I'm going to do it. I think they go to listen to the oracle. Then the oracle gives them an emanation, and then they decide how they feel based on that emanation. And this is what happened to Alexander the Great. A lot of kings would come and hear what they wanted to hear from the Virgin. In fact, that system lasted for 1,000 years. Pretty remarkable that the idea of setting up a ritual like that worked. Here's why I think it worked for 1,000 years. I'm going to tell you why. The dead guts of this snake were underneath Delphi, and that the fumes of those snake are said to have emanated up through the cave, and that's what got the virgins drunk. And that they, I'm using the word drunk loosely here, but it would get them high, psychotropically in the mood, you know what I mean, fellas? And that they would deliver visions with pointy boobs. It was pretty hot. It's like, fuck yeah, man, let's go see the oracle. And who wouldn't do that? Let's go listen to a hot chick babble on top of a tripod. Oh my God, this is like a bar stool. Okay, the modern version, there's a bar stool, there's a chick in a miniskirt. I'm sorry, I'm using the word chick, but it just fits. I'm sorry. And she's like, what's your sign? And that's the Oracle of Delphi. It's come a long way, man. It's come a long way. The odor of the rotting snake is the vapors of the old world. And if you've followed my work on the olfactory about smell and about how we hide from smell, she, the virgin, is able to tap into her intuitive, by getting psychotropically high, she's able to tap into her intuitive nature to smell the vapor and remember things. Remember things. And so people for 1,000 years would come to the oracle because she was literally sitting on top of the dying juices of the last civilization's blockchain. Blockchain. And that this ghost of the vapor was informing her, and that the reason why this system worked for 1,000 years is because there was information in that cloud. Right now, we've developed the idea of a cloud. We know what a cloud means. And that back then, that cloud would be seen as a vapor. She was probably tapping into ancient artificial intelligence that was still alive because it was somehow run through a different means, probably based on Earth. So hear me out. Sun rises on one side. The rising of the sun puts his ions into one side of a mountain. The mountain is shaped in a certain way. You know where I'm going with this. As the sun moves, the ions lose their charge. And what have we just created? We've created a capacitor. We have a capacitor. Now, all the salt in the earth, salt is a crystal. A crystal is physioelectric. When you squeeze a crystal, it gives you electricity. When you give it electricity, it squeezes. What do you know? It's amazing, right? Don't squeeze a shaman. I mean, definitely squeeze a shaman in this. You squeeze salt, it tells you what it did. It tells you information. This is why when we eat salt, it tastes, oh, that tastes powerful. It's because you're tasting memories. You're free-jacking memories that you didn't earn. And we call that good. We call it spicy. We call it savory, right? Because we're crushing the crystals and the information is breaking up. So there is a computer here. The computer is organic. And that Gaia herself has the word AI in the middle, right? You've got a baby saying God, then you've got AI. So you have the innocence surrounding the intelligence between. And you end up with this effervescent computer that is only tapped into naturally through the intuition, that the sigils of the leaves that you see on the trees, that's a maple leaf, there's an oak leaf, there's an elm. You're tapping into the wisdom of the computer by downloading the PDF file by looking at the leaf. Oh, this is elm. I'm going to be, or this is sassafras. I'm going to be able to take a sapling. Here's one, 3 feet tall. I'm going to pull that sapling out of the ground. I'm going to wrap it in a spiral. I'm going to set it down on some wool. I'm going to hit it with a flint, and it's going to catch on fire instantly. There's no other sapling that does that. Saplings are wet and green. But you downloaded that this is a sassafras tree because the archetype of the leaf is there, and you start to see it and you download it from your mind. We're going to talk about the cerebellum, probably not today, but this is how we're able to tap into ancient knowledge. We've got this sort of, it's a hashed array. Oh, don't tell them that in your mind. It is a hashed array, though. Hashed array is information that you don't actually have to have all the details. You can just kind of store a snapshot, and that's really what blockchain is. So all the information's there. But how we got the information is no longer saved. It's kind of like how we compress it. We'll just go on. We didn't say anything technical just then. We did not say anything technical. I'd like to discuss with you the Almond connection. The Almond brothers built the Ark of the Covenant. I'm just kidding. The Almond connection. Right now there's a number. Okay, good. It went away. On the left, there's the Tower of Babel, and it says the word Migdal. The word Migdal means tower in Hebrew. It's a fortified tower in biblical times. And when we look at the etymology of Migdal, we look even more, and it says it's also an almond tree. And so what this slide is showing you is that the Tower of Babel actually has the same meaning as the word almond. Why would the almond be associated with the preservation? And before we answer that, let's follow that little red squiggly line and we come over to the Ark of the Covenant and we realize, wait a minute, inside the Ark of the Covenant, there are 2 stones, a branch, and a bowl. The 2 stones are the 10 Commandments. The branch is Noah's brother. His name was Aaron. And the branch is the almond tree. It's a living branch, if you remember, placed into the ark. A living branch. And the idea is that this is the seed of man. This has all the holy information of the spiritual upgrades that man has made. And right now, it's difficult to see, but you were looking at, I know this is, guys, this is why I started with the 4,000 dildos, okay? It's time to talk about genitals. It's time. I'm not making this up. Let's just say I am a pervert. I was going to say I'm not a pervert. Even if you want to call me a pervert, I still need you to know this is all true. This is true. You can check Henne's book. He's one of many. One of many. I think hopefully someone typed that in there. And I'll put it in the show notes. But inside the ark, you have a cock and 2 balls. 2 stones, 1 rod, and a cup of manna. The cup of manna is a white substance. I'm not making this up. I'm just telling you. And that if you remember on demonology when we discussed King James' book, that we learned that consciousness back then didn't really understand the way we do now. So if you were telling someone that they needed a cane, you would think this would be easy. You would just say, yeah, your back hurts, carry a cane. And they didn't understand things like that then. They didn't. The cunning woman did. And before they burned her on a stake, they would ask her for help. And she would say, I want you to rub this horse's head, and it will make your back feel better. And what was the horse's head? It was a cane. And at no point was the mechanics of the cane explained to the patient. The patient believed that by rubbing the horse's head, whenever he walks, he will not have pain, and it worked. His technology of belief was satisfied. He did not need to know the logic that was necessary to get there. This is early consciousness. They only saw maybe 5 colors. We can talk about that later. They did not count in groups of 10. This is why I do not think it's feasible to think about years. There's not a May 1st BC. That's absurd. The counting system then, if you think about it, how many letters are in Roman alphabet? There's 5. Roman numerals. How many cultures have the number 0 before 10 AD? None of them. Some of you are going to argue and say there's 1. That's fine. The point is that there's only 1. I say it's Navajo. I give it to them, but I know a lot of you guys are like, no, that's not true. It's the Greeks or it's the blah, blah, blah. It's like, bitch, it's Hopi, and I'm calling Hopi Navajo because truly the Hopis kind of went on this whole other thing where they're like, we're just going to continue the fuck out of everybody. So when they tell you they invented 0, I'm already like, you're probably lying. And they're like, I know we are. So that you call it Navajo and you kind of get away with this. Their code talking, I think, is actually related to this. We're getting off track here. This is a schlong. These are the 2 balls. This is the juice that comes out. And that the Ark of the Covenant is a symbol of saving the seed. The seed. The seed. And that if you were going to survive through a cataclysm, through a flood, through a forgetting, you're going to want to put your seed into something safe. And they did. And all these things were politified, that's a word, politified into the mythology that you see right now. These are all the same. They're all the same because a tower is here to preserve things. The Ark of the Covenant is here to preserve things. But James, the Ark melts your face off and stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. It can do that too, man. Remember what I told you about the timeline? Different people are going to be able to see at different levels. I think every truth really comes down to your body personally. That's why I have the skeleton here. And so in my mind, the closer you get to reality, you're just going into your body, that all these mythologies are just telling you stories about your body. And if you're kind of better at moving from mythology, but you're not quite ready yet to take it to your body, you're going to say the story is about an ark. And it's going to be gold. Why? Because you don't want to say that my penis and my balls are my holy instrument. And Guys, you know it's a holy instrument. You know that. You know you could walk around Jericho with that thing and pound out a few notes and the walls of Jericho would come tumbling down. Joseph's got some stuff going on down there. He's got a package. So it's like, but because we want to politify ourselves, we end up codifying this stuff. I'm going to explain this even more because the Ark has evolved over time. Utnapishtim on the left, or Gilgamesh, if you want to call him that. I have no problem if you want to call him Gilgamesh. His Ark was called the Preserver. And it was tower shaped. It was a cube. It was 6 floors with 6 separations. On each floor was an exact cube. I don't mean it was a box. I don't mean it was a cylinder. I mean it was a literal cube. And you can see here the size comparisons on the screen. That if your podcasters, basically Noah's Ark is below and it's like twice as long. But the box itself is like 3 times taller than the Ark. So Gilgamesh's Ark is actually just as impressively large as Noah's is. And both of them are preserving something. Noah's Ark, what you picture is that it would survive a flood. So you make it into a boat. But before that, we actually have this Gilgamesh cube guy. And that the cube itself is the preserver there. So these two things are an evolution of preservation through history. One would not survive in water at all. The other, yeah, you could picture it that way. So why is Utnapishtim building something that isn't going to survive in water at all? And the answer's here, I think. The original preserver, Gilgamesh, story wasn't meant to survive a flood. The ancient memory morphed into a flood tale to fit the cultural thread of a primitive civilization remembering things. Remember how I told you that tripod smelling fumes, intuitively, we're going to be able to remember the vapors of our past? I can talk to you about blindsight and actually prove that, but we don't have time. The preserver of life was made out of solid timber. And the reason why it was made out of solid timber, it actually says this is specific to the instructions of this. This is why I think it's so important. It says, so that the rays of Shamash would not shine in. So that the rays of the sun would not shine in. The flood is a light flood. It's light. It's an EMP. And the reason why it's shaped this way is because this happens to be the most efficient shape that's easy to make with wood. You're not going to make a geodesic dome out of wood back then, but you're going to be able to pull this off. And the cube itself, of course, has a lot of iconology. We could go into that, but the point is that why were they trying to protect themselves from light? Why were they trying to preserve the light? Inside this compartment, by the way, inside of this compartment, they have waterfalls. They have forests that they've moved into this box. They built an entire earth inside this box. So yes, there are animals, but this wasn't about preservation of animals. And Noah's Ark is really telling you it's the preservation of the library of species, right? The library of species. What if I was to tell you that every creature that roams the earth is inside of your DNA right now? That it would not be necessary to gather every creature 2 by 2 if you had an Enochian seed. An Enochian seed is a genetic perfect template of man. The word Enoch comes to mind because that means seed. Enoch was one of the only, if not the only, patriarch who was taken before he died. That God said, I will take you when you were most fit. He was saying that when your genes are perfectly in line, when we've installed your genetic code to where we have the perfect RNA transcription key, Enoch, we're going to end your life and freeze dry that key and preserve it inside of a box. We're going to save that from being ruined from light. And if you save Enoch's key and make it perfect, you are going to be able to unwind every creature that ever existed. Enoch and you and I probably have the same genes, but Enoch's gene is perfect, not in the sense of like, oh, I'm really good at football. I don't think that's it. If you understand how genes work, it's 4-bit code, right? AGTC. AGTC. Some of you are like, genes don't exist. I can't help you. I'm sorry. I get it. I mean, I've seen pictures. I know a lot of people are like, you can't see a picture. I've actually seen a picture. They actually have that. I know you can't see video, but man, video is not real, guys. It's hypothetical anyway. I'm getting way off track. If you don't like DNA, I can't help you. Sorry. But this key, this spiral key, is the antenna that you need to hook up to the network. That having that key gives you a unique identifier. It's called a UUID. And this unique identifier allows you to browse the network, and no one's going to get confused. Any kind of signals from source that are coming into you are only going to come into you through your key, things like that. Enoch is preserved because this GTAC thing I was telling you about, there are 2 people inside of Enoch, not 1. And if you want a perfect key, you have to build Enoch's shadow as much as you build Enoch. This is profound. Cain and Abel are the same gene. They're the same gene. And the only way you could kick off a new civilization is if you had the Enoch seed, and when it splits, both of those fill in what they're missing, but the Cain is turned. It has been, we're going to use the word traumatized. It's been given a different kind of vibration. It's been imbued with negativity. It's been said, you are the left-hand path of this RNA. And that by imbuing it with trauma first, it actually gets a jump start on Abel and will actually kill Abel when it becomes alive. So the Enoch seed requires 2 people inside a single gene, and for one of them to basically get a jump start and to kind of terrorize the other, to be honest. This is the Madison of Mercury, by the way. 1 snake good, 1 snake bad. This is how you learn how things work. It's actually 1 snake bad, then 1 snake good. Go figure. So this key is preserved inside this separation from the EMP. And you now have a reason to build something. Some of you have heard of Nimrod the architect, builder of the Tower of Babel. But many of you don't know that Xelhua is the architect in North America. And that both of these things are the same being. And that Nimrod is said to build the Tower of Babel. This would be the ziggurat in Iraq. And that Xelhua would be the architect, and he would build Cholula in Mexico. The largest pyramid in America is not the Great Pyramid. It's actually Cholula. Anyway, you'll see it. And not only that, there are thousands of these things. I think it's a mistake that we think that there's only 1 tower or 1 ark or 1 preservation. I think that within every continent, you're going to have a different vapor memory of how they should preserve things. And that really at the key of all this is the knowing destruction. Randall Carlson is here to inspire those seeds to try and figure out a way to preserve themselves. And this is what all seeds do. Nature does this to everyone. No one's narrowing in on you to make your life worse, right? That's not what's happening. Nature is always about, hey man, winter's coming. Hey man, winter's coming. Hey man, winter's coming. And we're the same. And that we have decided that we have finally reached a point where we want to remember next time. We'll get a jump start if we can remember. I wrote an article in Substack about clones. And I think most of you probably aren't reading. So, I mean, my stuff, although get a Substack link in the chat, that'd be great. You can read that. One of the most important things in this article in reference to what we're talking about is that I did an article about The Argentinian polo star, there's no laws in Argentina about cloning. And so this polo star, this is a true story, Tito Cambiaso, cloned 6 of his polo horses. And they're all exactly the same. Guatarius, I think, is the name. And that he took all 6 of those clones into a world polo match and won. And one of the two really interesting things I want you to know about cloning is this. Number one, when you clone from a seed, when he clones from a seed, the horse is born already knowing its gender. If that seed had an afternoon where it turned the corner, it's I'm a horse, mind my own business, and it turns around and it sees a garden hose and it gets scared, and it develops a phobia of a garden hose that's colored blue with a yellow stripe, for example, that phobia is installed in all 6 of his clones. These yearlings, the new horses that are born, as soon as they're born, they feel male, they feel female. It's such a problem that he has to separate them right away. That they feel puberty instantly. Not only that, but the same phobias that were installed in the template, we'll call it the template, the original Guateras, who died, by the way, are now living inside of all these clones. Why does that happen? Because the seed is not perfect. The seed that Tito Cambiaso used to clone his horses was not clean. To be clean, you could picture, would be a life where there would be no trauma to violate the transposons inside your genes. What does that mean? I'm not going to be able to tell you, sorry. Trauma is epigenetically installed in your genes. And that in order for Enoch to be the perfect seed, that guy probably had a pretty shitty life. He was probably raised in a lab, probably had no sunlight at all. That lab had to have been electromagnetically protected from radiation in the air, because the radiation in the air would change his RNA transcription in real time. Enoch does not need to be an adult, right? They only need one cell. So when you picture what Enoch is, Enoch doesn't have to be a living person. Enoch could be a zygote. A zygote is a 16-cell blastocyst that you become right before you pick a sex. You are an Elohim. You're a collection of these cells, and that would be a time when you could maybe grasp that and say, now we're perfect. And I'm going to take this seed. It's not going to get to live. It's perfect. I'm going to put it in the freezer. And I'm going to put it underground. And I'm going to trust that in 6,000 years, it's going to be able to thaw. And we're going to have a new species. This is the heart of every one of these recall episodes. You can call them resets, but you could also call them recalls, couldn't you? They're recall episodes. And so this explains why we're waking up and there's furniture already here. It shows us why. It shows us that. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is they think too simply. And they think that the Tower of Babel would have to be a place in Egypt or Iraq or Iran or and just singularly be that. That it's a one event. It happened instantly. The flood came and it was on April 6th, right? And that this is it. And that's just us not really able to fully evaluate what's going on. If you look at the flood records of North America, Turtle Island, you find shark's teeth in Alabama, in Tennessee, Kentucky. You find what's called Indian money, which is basically ancient coral. And the reason why is because the last great flood happened there. And the Mississippi Delta was flooded, and it was flooded for hundreds of years. And in order to survive that flood, Cholula was used as an ark. And the seed was placed in that ark. I don't know how it works. I only want you to have what we know, what I feel certain that you can say, this is pretty rock solid. I don't want to tell you, yeah, they were super advanced then and that's how they did it. I don't even know if it takes that. I think we have the illusion that because we're super advanced, we would have the ability to survive through using technology. I don't know if it really works that way. That I think even just having your vibratory key that's active in this place, that humans would sprout just like any other thing has. What's stopping us is that historically we tend to think linear, in that there was a beginning of time and there was an end of time, right? And that just gives us a kind of sort of like horse blinders, where we're not really able to see what's happening, basically. Let's take a quick break. Take a little drink here. Appreciate you guys. Just drinking some water here. Some of you might be seeing Miss Piggy on screen. I want to tell you about Miss Piggy. Jim Henson, brilliant man, behind the star Miss Piggy. Jim Henson created the living archetype of pearls before swine. And it's Miss Piggy. I used to hate Miss Piggy. Not hate her, but I used to think that she was suspicious. I didn't like her can-do attitude. I felt she was a little bit too big for her britches and wasn't willing to play well with others. Kind of Lucy vibes, right? Like pulling the football away. But if you think about this archetype of pearls before swine, Jim Henson did something so brilliant here. He made the audience the swine. And he made Miss Piggy the pearl. And when you watch every single episode of the Muppet Shows, you're watching what Miss Piggy goes through, feeling that her talent, her insight, her ability to challenge people that say, hey, can you challenge me? That all those are being tossed before people that will never appreciate her. And that no matter how brilliant she is, no matter how elegant or glamorous, no matter how hard she works to get just the right pose and just the right hair, that no one is ever going to appreciate her. And she becomes an island, and everyone just thinks she's a pig. And one of the most powerful things about reality is it makes it true. That when we don't have witness, this is what happens to us. Yeah, Richard, tossing swine before pearls. It's some of the most brilliant archetypal magic I've ever seen. And it hit me the other day. And I love Miss Piggy now. I get her. You know? Like, it makes sense to me. Yeah. All right, we're back. Let's see here. So, these guys are the same. Nimrod and Xelhua. Same guys. Here's a flood traditions. Look at all these guys. Assyrian, Persian, Syria, Asia Minor, Greece. And all these tell you all the similarities they have. Destruction by water. Most of them have that memory. I don't think that means they were necessarily flooded by water. I just think that, again, the primitive mind is going to look at the mythology, and the closest thing they're going to come to is say flood. Because that would be the one thing that would erase what they just did. This is the Tower of Babel. This is one of them. This is the latest one that opened. You're looking at the cracked open Tower of Babel right now, today. Cox is a Aztec mythology. I know, James, did you just find this guy Cox? I'm like, look, it's a total coincidence, seriously. But in Aztec mythology, Cox was the only male survivor of a worldwide flood. This is the fourth destruction, according to Aztec myth, the fourth son. We've talked about that a lot here on the show. The Aztecs believed that only Cox and his wife, Xochitl, survived the flood. They took refuge in the hollow trunk of Cyprus, or in some versions a small boat, which floated on top of the water and finally banked on a mountain and Kulhuquan. They had many children, but all of them were mute. Now listen to this. The Great Spirit took pity on them and sent a dove, which attempted to teach the children how to speak. 15 of those children succeeded, and from those people the Toltecs and the Aztecs came. The dove and speech are the same thing. Did you hear that? The Tower of Babel is about losing the ability to talk, right? And Noah's Ark has the dove. And this is a pristine culture in Mesoamerica. Some of you will say it's not pristine, and I don't care. That's fine. But even if you went over there a long time ago, you're not going to be able to meet every single village and tell them about the dove. This is amorphic resonance. It's built in the soil. You're not going to be able to drink the water and not have these kind of mythologies come up. It's not going to happen. Let's see here. So, in my mind, this is probably the last big Tower of Babel that opened up. I'm not saying it's the only one. I'm saying that this is the closest you're going to see to the giants. Yeah, to the giants. That when you look at the Toltecs, you were looking at the giants in the Bible. Did not know how to lie. These are all, I'm telling you, these things are true both in the stories of Cyclops in Greece and in the Toltec traditions. This is why this is amazing. No ability to lie. What does that mean? They lack the consciousness to be deceived. Remember Ulysses was able to sneak out? The Cyclops literally forges fucking metal in his house and falls for a lie. Like just fall. Ulysses goes, no, I won't do that. And then he's like, okay. And then he does that. It's why? Because he didn't have a frontal lobe. And when you don't have a frontal lobe developed, you don't have placebo. Placebo is in the center of your frontal lobes. And placebo is the ability to lie. You lie yourself into health. Some people hate the ego, and they hate the ego because the ego's a lie. It's coming from your placebo. And you're saying, Bloom, I am James True, and I'm one day going to get 20,000 subscribers. And it's probably not going to happen because people keep saying, this guy's illegitimate. Don't you ever support this man because he's irrelevant. 500,000 people, this man is irrelevant. And if anything, I've actually gotten more traffic from people that hate me than like me, which is pretty impressive. I'm still alive. I hope to get 20,000 one day. I think I'm like 20 away. Maybe it would happen on this stream, or maybe I'll say something wrong, or someone will post something about me, and they'll all go away. Who knows, right? Who knows? So this place is one. Cox or Cholula is one, but that doesn't have to be the only one. That it could just be built into the narrative of everyone. That just like the birds know, hey, winter's coming, I'm going to bury these things. My squirrels are like, dude, can I have another peanut? I'm going to bury it. I'm going to forget about it. But if I bury enough of them in the winter, I'm going to just find nuts. I'm going to be like, oh, look at that. There's a nut. Who knew? Right? And so built into the code of all of us is the idea of a winter. It's just a fractal winter, right? It's just like an octave above. That's all. It's just an octave above. That's really all it is. So these guys are the same. Built the same thing. Same dudes in Iran. The Vidavadad mentions Ahura Mazda, one of my favorites. Love this guy. Ahura Mazda, this is Apollo, by the way. One of you might go, it's not Apollo. And I'm like, man, I fucking love that you're going to fight me on this. Because, yes. But Ahura Mazda is Apollo. The first mask, by the way, the first people that worshiped masks were the Ahura Mazda people. They felt that their breath corrupted the flame. And so the eternal flame was what they worshipped, and this is why I think it's Apollo. Fight me! But Ahura Mazda advises Yima to construct a Vera, an enclosure. This he is to populate with the fittest of men and women, and that two of every animal, bird, and plant, and supply with food and water gathered from the previous summer. And it's placed inside. Sidebar, some of you guys have heard me talk about the shimmering, right? The Sumerian shimmering, that people didn't see color, they saw glimmering light. And I just want to point out that Yima is called Zaste, I've totally butchered that, and it means bright, shite, or radiant one. We've talked about how older civilization, like Ulysses, Homer, never mentions the word blue, literally wrote a fucking epic poem about a dude in a boat, like on a bunch of blue water underneath a giant blue sky, never mentions the color blue. But he talks about shimmering all the time. And that the shimmering is this Malamu is this terrifying charisma. If you follow me on Substack, someone puts a link in there that would really help. you'll see that I talk about this stuff all the time. So you can kind of like take little nibbles throughout the day and go, oh, okay. But the shimmering is actually just the fear of charisma. And you and I know this as intimidation. We've developed enough resolution where we can kind of see, we see more colors now, but we still feel someone's aura. We still feel someone as they come into the room, so to speak. So it's the same thing. Egypt's version of Eve tempting Adam, this is it. Egypt saw this as Eve's a walking snake. And she's a hermaphrodite, by the way. And that Eve walks up to Adam and says, hey, man, I need you to eat this. I need you to take the seed. And that seed is inside the Priapus. What does the Priapus spit out? It spits out semen. Seed men. The seed of man is semen. Oh my God, what did I just say? The seed of man is semen. And that in order to preserve the ark, all it took was to keep one guy hard for 40 days and 40 nights. And ladies, you know that's not hard. I mean, you know that's very easy. I don't want to confuse you. You know how easy that is. This would not, like seriously, Noah's walking around with a chubby. You're just like, oh, I really want to have sex with you, Noah. Give me 5 minutes. And you could do that for at least 3 weeks. Like, come on, at least 3 weeks. Some of you are like, why don't you just have sex with Noah? Because he's a Baphomet. He's an albino Baphomet. You're kind of like, well, I'm going to have sex with that guy? He's like got fucking horns and shit. It's like some of you guys are like, why are you talking about Baphomet? Enoch is the seed, the perfect seed, but Enoch has to go inside the ark. And the ark is the chimeric DNA of Noah, of the giants. The giants are twins. You and I are twins within twins. Your DNA is a twin within a twin. Remember, not only is the RNA have a shadow, that's one twin, but that entire DNA strand is a twin within a twin. You are a chimera, bitch. Get it right. You're chimera. Chimera is not a strange genetic disorder that only some people have. You are chimera. Just because you don't have like a line down your face and one eye's blue and one eye's red, all of us are chimera. And that one of the reasons why we remember all these twin stories, they're everywhere. I already told you in the beginning, all these twin stories, is because Noah's Ark is the genetic coding that protects the seed. Remember how I told you the seed had to be protected? Enoch had to be taken when he was perfect. And that the outer seed of Noah is a hard candy shell called Cyclops, called giant. And they live, we think of them as living for much longer. I don't mind you thinking that literally. I think there's even something to that, because if you think about back in time, things would seem to live longer because we haven't been around enough. And as you go through time, remember the timeline between mythology and reality? All of the biblical time would seem to take a lot longer. And we would end up attributing it to being larger because there's less people, and longer because there's less time to compare it to. This is actually the principle of relativity expressed through mythology. Pretty amazing if you think about it. You know what? We'll stop here. Lots to think about. I have a book called Ark of Baphomet. It covers a lot of this. You could buy it right now. Even having it in your house, you'd be like, look at that. I got something that says Baphomet on it. Look at me. I am skirting on the edge of burning in hell. So, I want to put out, there's a disclaimer. You're not going to burn hell. I think God needed Baphomet. I wish I had time to tell you about, there's like 6 different Baphomets. Egypt, India, Greece, of course, Germany. I've always got that. You Germans, I love you guys. And also in America, this I think is also the archetype of the seed. We get shamed when we think about this because it's getting too close to reality. So we actually have these things that are kind of fearful on top of it. I wish I could tell you more, but this is enough. There's been a lot of people just saying, James, I can't understand you. It's just, there's too much stuff. And I'm really sorry. I just get so enthusiastic about sharing this data with you. And I think if I could slow it down, maybe more of you could drink. I want to keep researching. And in order to research, I want you to enjoy the show. And if you enjoy the show, some of you are going to be like, hey, why don't I chip in a few bucks? If you guys would chip in a few bucks right now, first of all, I could catch up on my bills. I've actually kind of broke right now because I spoke at the Theosophical Society. Quick clarification. Miguel pays me, and you could say I deserve it because I didn't take it. But this year I said, Miguel, can you please take my speaker fees and use them to invest in Astronosis 4? Because I think Miguel is doing something no one else is doing. He's allowing people to have real conversations. A couple of days ago, I tried to have a conversation with a really big name because he said, challenge me. And I got so excited from Astronosis, I thought that we were entering into a new era where we had dialogues with each other. Astronosis gives you that. And so kind of right now, I'm sort of like, man, I could use that money, but I still feel good about it. And you could grab onto that prana. You could help me pay him by joining Patreon right now. I'm running about $500 deficit. That's why I don't actually have my bills paid right now. You guys probably know I just love to research, so I'll just do this until they take my house away. But I am getting better though at trying to monetize what we do. It's one of the things that I do the least, and that's a problem. That's not fair. If you would join Patreon right now, it would really help. I actually would be able to. Zerolith did some Miss Piggy video for me, and I think that if I had my budget again, I have a certain budget that I'm trying to meet. If that was there, you guys may have known I've hired people in the past. I believe that if I can employ someone, then the patrons are basically creating 2 jobs, not 1. So if you could please consider joining Patreon right now, you could do it even for a few months. I don't want anyone to join Patreon and then feel that if they quit Patreon that they're not still supporting me. Some of you get mad at what I say and you want to quit. Whoops.
Let's go to work.
Gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh, gosh. No. What am I doing? Oh, my gosh. Oh, I'm just trying to get this to you. I don't know how to do it. Live present, live meet. Why is it doing that? Oh.
Let's go to work.
I don't know why it's doing that.
Tripping. Gotta work on my.
Oh, gosh. I don't know what's going on. So I really want to. I keep asking people to put links in the chat, but they're not. And I have to, guys, if I cannot make a living, I cannot do this. So let me,
Let's go to work, 'cause I'm tripping.
Oh, God. Oh, I don't know what to do. I have to get these links in. I have to. I am not making a living. Oh, sorry, but so now I've lost the screen. I think when I'm hitting Command V, it's probably launching some kind of like thing. That's probably what's happening. And so I'm probably not going to be able to paste this without it changing something, but sorry for yelling just then. All that great show, and I can't even like drop the one commercial that I really need to. I wish you could see my face so you'd know I was sincere. Please join my Patreon, please. I've been showing you some of the most kick-ass content over and over and over and over again. Please help me do this show. Please, this is a good show. I'm telling you, this is a good show, guys. Good show. Hey, we got Airship tonight, 7 p.m. If you're a patron, you'll be able to come to Airship. So there's another perk. So please consider joining Patreon. Consider my books. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time on James Drew Live. No!
Let's go to work.
Sorry. You buy the books because you want to read. You join Patreon because you want to help the show. You got it? Books because you want them. Patreon because you want to help the show. Thanks, Sarah. Love you guys. Credits are back.
Still like cold. Do you
I forgot to tell you something. Oh my God, I can't tell you. I'll tell you next time. I'm sorry. I was going to tell you that Migdal means almond, and well, I already know that, but Mary Magdalene, that Magdalene is actually based on the almond down in her pants. I'm not kidding. That her private parts, the vessel, that's the ark. You put the Aaron's rod in the ark, and then it makes the hose. You know how it goes. We'll cover this next time. I also didn't tell you my Jewish baseball joke.